Okay, good afternoon. My name is Aliyah Chajon Navas, and for my senior project, I chose a school-wide food drive. For my essential question, I chose, how can I successfully involve other Millis High School students to help reduce food insecurity through an organization in Boston? So for the outline of my project, I'll talk about the inspiration, why I chose this project, my mentor, why I chose him and why he was a good fit, my original idea and why I didn't choose it, the research and how that helped me with my project, the planning, the collection process and how that went, and then my reflection. So for my inspiration, I really liked in previous years the Rise for Hunger project. I just didn't like the idea of helping out others in other countries instead of helping out our neighbors first. I thought it was really important to help out those in our own community before helping out those in other countries. I also really wanted to raise awareness on food insecurity and poverty. About 40% of families in Massachusetts suffer from food insecurity, and that could be peers, classmates, neighbors, friends that you don't know that are suffering. And I think everyone deserves a healthy meal, which I'll talk about later. Through my research, I learned that food, like healthy meals, really help students and young developing children, and the lack thereof does affect them and how they are in school and stuff like that. And I really wanted to give back because being on the receiving end of this, I know the generosity and like how thankful I was to get such generous donations, and I really want other people to feel that. So my mentor, I chose Mr. Caulfield. I chose Mr. Caulfield because he's done projects like this in the past, like the Rise for Hunger project. He works with the Leos, which is a club at our school that loves to volunteer and give donations. So he would help me get my volunteers and donations. He has connections to local food banks. Although I did not work with the Millis Food Bank, I did have that in my back pocket that if I needed to, I could work with him. And he agreed that the Leos Club could take it over next year if no rising senior would like to. For my original idea, I wanted to volunteer at the Greater Boston Food Bank, which this is my email that I had sent to them. But when they responded back, they said there was no space to not just have me volunteer, but a group of other students. So I pivoted and came up with the idea of a food drive, but still wanted a lot of participation and a lot of help through my peers. So I did a competition aspect to get more participation, more volunteers, more donations. Through my research, I found that through 1 in 5 children suffer from food insecurity, that 2.6 billion people globally suffer from food insecurity, and of that, 47.9 million are just in the US alone, and 26 billion people suffer from poverty every day. For my planning, I started off by emailing people and asking if they agreed with my project, if they liked it, things like that. So I emailed Mr. Nash and asked him to help me create a timeline of when my project should go, for how long, how we could get advertising and stuff like that. I made this poster, and I didn't want it to be just a regular poster that you see on the wall that kind of matches the beige on the walls. I wanted it to be bright, I wanted it to be colorful, and I wanted it to just say everything I wanted it to say, so it has the different ingredients and stuff like that that people would need to bring based on their grade. It had the timeline on it so that people knew when it would start, when it would end, and it had the competition aspect of the winning advisory will get a treat. So for my collection process, I first started off by actually collecting everything, and I went through to each advisory and wrote down how many items each advisory brought, and then determined a winner, which the winner did get Muffin House muffins, but I also did have some leftovers, so I did get to give to some of these people that still brought but didn't win with their advisory. This was actually counting the items, and then I brought all the donations to my local food pantry, which is the Franklin Food Pantry, so that's me putting all the stuff in there. And then my reflections, what went well, I really liked that everyone helped, and that my goal was for 100 items, which is just 25 per grade, and I actually did get 104, which I really thought was nice. I thought that a lot of people did help that I didn't expect them to help, which I did appreciate. What could have been better, I feel like I could have done a lot more advertising, although I did do advertising through like my personal my personal Instagram, the weekly newsletter, the morning announcements. I feel like I could have done more and actually gone into classrooms and told more students about this. I feel like not everyone was aware, and I didn't know who I could pass this on to, but as I mentioned, I talked with Mr. Caulfield, and he said that the Leo's Club would be willing to do it just with a local pantry, the Millis one. But through my research, I did find out that the Millis Food Pantry actually does partner with the Greater Boston Food Bank, because the Greater Boston Food Bank works with over 600 food pantries, so I didn't have to donate directly to the Greater Boston Food Bank. And then the connection to a vision of a graduate, I used critical thinking when problem solving. When my project didn't go the way I wanted to at first by volunteering, I used my critical thinking and problem solving to turn it over to still be something that I would like and that I would enjoy, and it would still help people in the Greater Boston area. I used character with my leadership. I did a lot of standing up in front of classrooms and explaining this to the Leo's Club, and I had to stand in front of them and say, this is my project, this is how you can help. I would really appreciate donations. I think the collaboration with the teamwork of advisories working together to try to bring a lot of donations so that their advisory would win the treat. And I think I distributed the responsibility to each grade well, because I didn't want just a lot of pasta or a lot of canned goods. I wanted the different things, because through my research I found out that families need different things. Like some family might need a lot of diaper and wipes, while other families might lack hygiene products. So I wanted to distribute that evenly. And then the communication, audience tailoring, I thought was really key, because instead of, high school students don't want extra recess, so I thought that the treats were very on brand. And I did active listening. Like I said, each family has different needs, so I didn't want just a lot of shampoo and conditioner. And the advertising of putting it on the morning announcements, talking to people, and having my posters. Then I want to thank Mr. Nash for helping me with the timeline and stuff like that, Ms. Baby for putting it in the weekly newsletter, Ms. Bedard for announcing it, Mr. Caulfield, my mentor, Ms. Bartley for any other additional questions I had, and to all the students and staff that helped me with the donations and actually bringing the donations.